We're taking a look at the history of General Motors.
It could change the way you think about American automobiles.
The General Motors Company was founded on September 16, 1908 in Flint, Michigan. It began as a holding company for the American automotive brand Buick, which was under the control of William C. Durant. Along with GM co-founder Charles Stewart Mott, Durant acquired Oldsmobile. The pair also consolidated several other motor car companies, including Cadillac, Elmore, and Oakland. In 1909, GM purchased the precursors of GMC Truck, the Reliance Motor Truck Company, and the Rapid Motor Vehicle Company. The next decade was filled with ups and downs. After briefly losing control of GM, Durant started the Chevrolet Motor Car Company.
They go together in the good old USA. Baseball and hot dogs, apple pie and Chevrolet.
Makes sense to me.
In the meantime, General Motors launched the electric self-starter with the 1912 Cadillac. Upon Durant's return, he reorganized the company into the General Motors Corporation and released the first GM vehicle under the Chevy brand name, the 1918 Chevrolet 490. Shortly after Durant's removal from management, GM relocated its headquarters to Detroit, and Alfred P. Sloan Jr. took his place. GM also created the Pontiac division, and this led to the demise of the Oakland brand. Thanks to Sloan's leadership, GM became the most dominant figure in American car manufacturing. The addition of overseas operations quickly turned GM into one of the world's largest industrial organizations. Sloan also reorganized the company by decentralizing the management of the divisions he created. Several of his other changes helped GM overtake current competitor Ford. These included modifying sales strategies, offering consumers the option of monthly payments, and presenting more stylish, powerful, and prestigious car models. During the next few years, GM left its mark on public transportation by helping to establish the Greyhound bus lines. The corporation also made a brief venture in the aircraft manufacturing industry and began looking into rail cars. This led to the creation of the General Motors Electromotive Division, and this subsequently built many of the diesel-powered locomotives used on American railroads during the next 2 decades. By the early 1940s, GM was responsible for almost half of all the cars being made in the U.S.
Look at those lines. There's true streamlining for you. Beautiful and impressive from every angle of vision.
The company was even involved in some industrial production during World War II. During the next decade, GM introduced its most expensive model of passenger vehicle, the Chevrolet Impala, and the luxury convertible known as the Pontiac Bonneville. In the 1960s, General Motors created the compact class and offered cars such as the Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Firebird.
Pontiac, we build excitement.
The intermediate class was then introduced by the Oldsmobile Cutlass. Finally, the subcompact class arrived in the 1970s, and this was launched with the Chevrolet Vega. Despite its success, GM began to downsize its cars. Problems also started to arise with certain models like the Chevrolet Corvair, Vega, and Citation. And after the reputations of these cars suffered, the company was forced to discontinue them. However, in the mid-1970s, GM did find much popularity with the Oldsmobile Cutlass. In order to compete with Japanese automakers, GM formed the Saturn Automotive Division to create smaller cars. Nevertheless, GM suffered several losses during the economic recession of the 1990s and wound up closing plants and laying off employees. Things turned around a few years later as profits rolled in from the sales of light trucks and SUVs.
The most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
GM then introduced the first full-sized hybrid pickup with the Silverado Sierra in 2004. A few years later, General Motors became affected by the struggles of the auto industry and filed for bankruptcy protection in 2009. 2010 saw the discontinuation of the Pontiac and Saturn brands, as well as a number of new developments. For example, GM formed General Motors Ventures to work on new technologies. The company then made another attempt at an all-electric vehicle with the Chevrolet Volt, and this followed their initial attempts with the Impact back in 1990. GM continued its research and development into biofuel and flexible fuel vehicles through the end of the decade.
Tomorrow we're smashing prices.
All right, back up! Are you serious?
With plants and centers making cars, trucks, and automotive parts around the globe, General Motors is undoubtedly one of the world's most important motor vehicle manufacturers.
There's a new era in automobiles. It's the new Motoramic Chevrolet. What's new? Everything. 43 distinctively different interior styling choices. New fabrics, new colors, new treatments. It's the new Motoramic Chevrolet.